Welcome, everyone. It's Monday, March the 14th, and this is the NBA Triple Double Show. It's an edition from the Predictive Playbook that is presented by SportsMemo TV. And I have my regular co-host and professional sports bettor and good friend, Ronald Cabang, on the show. And Ronald, I don't like to boast too much, as you know, and you don't either. But I must say, as you can see on the graph here, you're number one the last 3 days in the NBA. I'm right behind you by $10. Last 7 days, you're number one. Then we have Kevin Broadus, who was on our show twice last week, filling in for you. And you guys have that package that you ran that gave 30 days each of your picks and his picks because you're running 1 and 2. So I decided to get my act together. And I'm sitting in second place right now the last 30 days with Kevin ahead of me. And good old Teddy Covers is listed on all 3 of those. He's third last 3 days. Last 7 days, he's second. And he's third last 30 days. So, some really good stuff happening on this show. And, overall, the top 4 guys are pretty good. Humbly said.
Yeah.
So with that, let's get right to it here. We're going to start with a game that I personally like, and I'm a little concerned about a guy named Zach LaVine, but I'm sure you have some background on that for this game. And obviously I'm talking about the Bulls, who are 4th in the Eastern Conference, taking on the Sacramento Kings, who have struggled all season. It seems like they struggle every single season. They're 13th in the Western Conference with a 24-45 record, almost twice as many losses as wins. However, against the spread, they're only 4 games under 500. The Bulls are 8 games over 500 against the number, and a near mirror image record of 41-26 straight up. The record since the turn of the calendar, Ronald, the Bulls are 18-16 straight up, 16-17-1 against the spread, 17-15-2 over under mark. So the market has priced them very well since the beginning of the year. The Kings 9-23 straight up. The only team that comes close to that is the other team out there in California. And I'm not talking about the Clippers, am I? Against the spread, 16-15-1 for 52% over under. Again, is favoring the Kings' style of game, which is score, score, score. And how do you spell defense? 18-13-1 over under. Take it away here, Ron, and tell us where your best bet is for this matchup.
Yeah, I haven't taken anything on this game yet, but I do lean towards the Bulls and the over here. I know Lonzo's still out, Lonzo Ball. LaVine is a game time decision here. But Caruso, he showed up and he played some solid defense. I think if LaVine plays, that'll kind of balance it out. That's why I lean towards the over here. And some of the trends that look towards the over too, 8-2 to the over after allowing 120 plus points. 4-0 to the over as road favorites in non-conference games. On the Kings side, you have a 3-1 to the over as home dogs in non-conference games, and 16-7 to the over following a previous matchup loss. So this is a revenge game for the Kings here. And technically they do still have a shot at the play-in game. They're only the play-in rounds. They're only four and a half games behind the 10th spot here. But they do have a rough schedule coming up. They got the Bucks, Celtics, and the Suns, and the Bulls here. They also have a tough schedule coming up. Jazz, Suns, Raptors, and Bucks up next. So there's a possible look ahead there. And that's, to me, that's really the only reason I would probably stay away from the Bulls here and just lean towards the over for both teams. I think if LaVine does play for sure, the over is the look here. There's going to be a lot of offense here, and obviously no defense on the Kings side. Even if Caruso does play some lockdown defense for the period of time that he plays, he really just came back for his first game in the last one. So it could be the point where they just limit him in the second game here, and just to get his feet going a little bit, just to warm up. So I think here the Bulls Kings over is probably the better lean, but I still do lean towards the Bulls here. I do think they take care of it. I just kind of scared about the number here.
A question for you: do you think LaVine will depend on this really tough schedule coming up, that they'll more than likely rest him because of that against the Kings, a team that they should beat rather easily? Do you think that is more of a possibility that he does not play?
Well, I think with Caruso back, it does give him that ability
Flexibility.
to sit him. Yeah, but I think here he already sat that first game with Caruso back already, so he should be rested. I think they give him a shot and let him play here, and get him to kind of make sure he's ready to go against this tough schedule coming up. Jazz, Suns, Raptors, Bucks. I mean, that's a tough schedule, and I think with him sitting out
Sure
that one
is.
game and his injury, they probably want to make sure that he's actually good to go. And this is a good game for them to do that because if they get a big lead in the beginning, they're able to sit him down, and they already get a chance to see him play an actual game live with how his injury is. So I think that he does play, to be honest. And if it turns out it to be a blowout, he plays limited minutes, which is still fine because they get to see him play.
Well, I can tell you the Bulls is leaning that way too. They're actually backed by 17-5 against the spread record when they're favored by 3.5 to 9.5 points in games played this season. And they're one of the better teams in the NBA overall as a favorite with a 27-16 against the spread record. And they've struggled here recently, having lost 5 of the last 7 games here.
Mm-hmm.
But note that the Bulls are 17-6-1 against the number after having lost 5 or 6 of the last 7 games. So I'm agreeing with you. I like the over, and I also like the Bulls here, at least as initial leans.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the next one. The next game here is, we're going to save that team from California for the last one. Denver Nuggets. Now, this is a great matchup, in my opinion, because you have the 76ers, who were just annihilated by the Nets. Kevin Durant took the game to Embiid. Embiid, I think, will learn a ton from that game because KD just didn't let him do anything that he normally is able to do. And KD had that attitude because he felt that Embiid had showed them up in Brooklyn when they had that come from behind late in the fourth quarter. They won, the Sixers did. And it was a little revenge factor there that was, KD was there to win in Philly, and that was it. Mm-hmm. So now we have the Sixers struggling against the Orlando Magic last night. They were down 17 points, Ronald. I thought I was watching the Lakers there for a second.
Well, I had the Magic, so I was okay with it.
Well, yeah, I guess you were. You weren't even afraid in overtime. But they did eke out the win, and now they have to travel and turn right around at home at the Wells Fargo Center and take on Jokic. And Embiid matchup is going to be fun to watch. And Denver was sitting all day yesterday resting while the Sixers were playing and struggling in Orlando. I can see why this line is tight as it is. The Sixers have moved up to second place in the Eastern Conference. Nuggets are the 6th seed in the Western. But I really see these teams as evenly matched. And I just wouldn't know right now who to pick because the Sixers on back-to-back haven't been all that good. Just an 8-7 record is Denver with rest advantage on the season. But what do you see in this matchup?
Yeah, I know the line from the opening number has moved towards the Nuggets here, and I think it really has to do with the Sixers' schedule and second game of back-to-back road to home, and then they played the overtime game with the Magic. And then, so obviously Embiid and Harden, I think they hit 44 minutes each, or I know both of them hit over 40 minutes each. And they have a tough schedule, a tough Eastern Conference schedule coming up here. They have the Cavs and then the Mavs in a non-conference game, then the Raptors and Heat in conference games. So this is something where, the Nuggets, obviously non-conference, do they take it as seriously as they should? Just because they're playing against another MVP candidate in Jokic, or do they sit Embiid and Harden to get ready for these 3 conference games coming up? This is a tough call. I think the line moving is telling me that someone's going to be sitting, either Harden or Embiid or even both. And the Nuggets here, they do have a double-digit revenge. This is a double-digit revenge game for them. They lost earlier this season to the Sixers, first game of the 3-game Eastern Conference road trip here. To me, I think the Sixers here, I really do think someone sits, and that's why the number's moving. And I would, if I believe that, I would probably take the Sixers right away. Because once someone is officially out, then the number is going to move even more. And if it's Embiid or Harden or both, the Nuggets will end up being favorites in this game. So to me, it's a tough call. But if I truly believe that someone's going to sit, I would probably take the Nuggets here.
Yeah, I lean that way too, despite the hat I'm wearing. But in all seriousness, Ron, do you think? I thought when Harden came to the Sixers, they would start out like a house on fire, and then opposing teams would study the film and they would see what the in and out game is between Harden and Embiid, and they would find a way to reduce it a little bit. And the last 4 games, they've shot 38% or less. They shot 38% last night, 32% against Brooklyn, 34% 4 games ago against Miami. They shot 49 in a 15-point win over the Bulls. Do you think that's what's happening right now, or is this part of the adjustment of Harden being part of the team and they're finding their way still?
That's a tough call. I mean, I think this is the first time with Harden having someone who can actually pick and pop, not only just pick and roll. So I think this is also an adjustment for the Sixers as well. They started off hot, which is sometimes not a good thing, right? Because then you get that downfall and then you start to question things. But to me, I think this is just part of the bumps on the road for them as they try to figure out, how this offense rolls towards the playoffs here. And it's not like they had other than the Magic here. I think the Magic was more of a schedule spot here, is why they struggled. But other than that, they really, they had some tough opponents. So I think here, they're still trying to figure it out, and I obviously think they're going to do well towards the playoffs, but I think it's just a bump on the road. They'll get it back together. I don't know if it's this game or the upcoming games. But yeah, I don't think it's going to last too long, this offensive struggle. I know the last 5 games, the Nuggets have, I think, maybe a 4 or 5 point advantage in the offensive rating here. And so that kind of goes with the fact that you're saying the Sixers have been struggling offensively. And that's another reason why we would probably lean towards the Nuggets in this specific spot here. But yeah, I think the Sixers will figure it out. They're too talented not to.
Yeah, and I agree. I guess my lean here is going to probably be with the over because, well, I shouldn't say that, but I do know that Denver here since February 1st is 1-6 against the number following a game in which they shot 50% or better from the field. And that's the old word regression. But no other team in the league right now has that bad a record following game shooting 50% or better. Okay. And I'm just wondering if that trend means anything. And I probably doesn't mean all that much in this matchup because it's going to be a physical battle no matter what. You're going to have 2 guys banging each other pretty hard here. And it's going to be fun to watch. But we'll get back to this game in our final segment of Best Bets. Yep. Now, it wouldn't be a show anymore if we didn't have the Lakers. My goodness gracious. Last night they got pummeled without Chris Paul, right?
Yeah.
Pummeled. 140 to 111.
I was leaning towards the Sun, and I don't know why I didn't come through with it, but yeah, that was almost expected after a win.
I mean, it was ridiculous. And then I went into the database because I realized that the Suns had scored 117 points through 3 quarters. And the Lakers scored 111 for the full game. So I thought, whoa, how often does this happen? And it actually happens a lot more than you think. There's a big number of games this year where that has happened. And the Lakers, believe it or not, are one of the contributing forces to that number. That's not the first time the Lakers have done this. And we continue to talk about them, not always bashing them, but I mean, pretty soon they're going to have to change the hashtag Lake Show to a different 4-letter word, I think, because it's really starting to stink there at the old Staples Center, if you know what I mean. I don't have a clue what to do with this game other than I would lean the Toronto Raptors, and I'll share this with you. Losing record NBA teams that scored fewer points than the opponent scored in just 3 quarters like last night, they are 11-33 straight up. 18-25-1 for 50. That comes out to 58% if you're betting against them. And the over-under is about 59% because it is under has won 26 of the 44 games. That doesn't bode well for the Lakers here, and they're 9th in the Western Conference and just not getting better. It seems like the only chance they have to win is if LeBron goes off for 50. What do you think, Ronald? Are they ever going to get their act together?
I think even if he does go for 50, they're still going to probably struggle. But I think this is their first matchup this season against each other. Anunoby and Flynn are out. Van Vliet is, I think he's a true game time decision, I believe, as of this morning, that from what I've seen. They are on a 3-game win streak. They just beat Jokic on the road. Fifth game of a 3-game road. Fifth game of, is this their 5th game on the road? I believe.
I can look it up here real quick while you're talking.
I think it is. Is it? And then the Lakers too. They've had a tough schedule, right? Their second game of back-to-back road to home. That's travel involved. Third game in 4 nights. This is also a non-conference home game sandwich between 2 conference games on the road. So this is a sandwich spot for the Lakers as far as key games being conference games, because they're still in that 9th play-in spot. But to be honest, they have been pretty well in those travel spots from road to home, 10-3 against the spread. They're also 3-0 against the spread as home dogs in non-conference games. So they got something going on their side. But the fatigue, I think, is going to be an issue here. On the Raptors side, they do well against opponents on second games of back-to-back. They're 8-4 against the spread there. 16-6-1 against the spread from road to road. So I think there's a few trends going on each side here. And, to be honest, I just can't back the Lakers in this spot. I don't know if I get back. I did get the Lakers. I bet the Lakers against the Wizards, and they came out as outright winners there. But this spot here specifically, I don't know if I can back them against the Raptors team. They're on a little streak here, and they're playing. they play well on the road. I would only be able to lean towards the Raptors in this specific game.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that, and clearly it's the Lakers defense is probably right now the worst defense in the NBA. I think you'd agree with that, at least over the last 10 games, or even the last 5 games, because they've allowed 50% shooting in 7 of the last 8 games. Mm-hmm. Just last night, Phoenix shot 57% from the field. Even the Houston Rockets shot 51% in that overtime win. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't know why that group doesn't play defense. I know AD's not out there, but he would help certainly if he was able to play. But one guy's not going to fix this.
Well, if they start, they continue to start LeBron at the 5. They're always going to play a fast pace, and that that gives opponents opportunity to have more chances to score. So that kind of has to go, sort of with the opponent scoring a lot more points.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Let's move on to our best bets for the show, Ronald. I'll let you start out with your thoughts here on a best bet, and then I'll follow up.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna cross off this Lakers-Raptors game. Full transparency, I haven't bet anything yet. I did bet one game, but it's not one of the ones that we talked about. So I think leaning towards the Bulls over, and the Nuggets would be another play. So those 3 would be my leans here. I would say if you agree with any of those, we would probably can go with those as our best bets for this day.
Yeah, I like the Bulls. And I'll choose the Bulls over the over in that game as well. I just think the Bulls will take care of business. They have been losing of late, so there's a sense of urgency here. Yeah. But your strategy was excellent, because betting it now, given the unknown status of Levine, that line's going to continue to move. But if he is playing, that line could reverse real quick. So if you can get it at -2, 2.5 right now, I think that is an extraordinarily good price. Mm-hmm. So we'll make the Bulls our best bet for the show here Monday, March 14th. Ronald, thank you for being part of this show. And people, get over to sportsmemo.com. Kevin Broadus and Ronald Cabang, and humbly said myself, are running pretty darn hot in the NBA. And we have special packages over there. They can be tied into March Madness. And March Madness is one of my favorite times of the year. It just seems like I get, I have the horseshoe in the right spot. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to irritate the betting gods to save my life right now. But anyway, do that. You'll be glad you did. You'll learn a ton of handicapping information from all three of us. And until tomorrow for the next edition of the NBA Triple Double, remember two things. Bet with your head, never over it, and may all the wins be yours.